Welcome, night wanderers and skywatchers, to the corner where secrets hum louder than neon and memory keeps its own time. Welcome to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Some evenings vanish like smoke. Others carve themselves into the city's skin and won't let go. Tonight's tale belongs to the latter, a moment when a single heartbeat drowned out the engines and the night's quiet pretense. And yes, it has two familiar names at its core, Gökberk Yildirim and Cemre Arda. Buckle up, because we're stepping onto a cold Nisantasi sidewalk at exactly 2:37 a.m., where love, or maybe the ache it leaves behind, chose to speak without words. Before we dive in, give a nod to fate if you think some connections never truly unravel. Hit that like, subscribe to keep close to our whispers, and if you want to push our search deeper, you know where the support buttons are. Your passion keeps our lights on. It began under a sky of steady stars and those amber street lamps that make the city look like it's remembering itself. Gökberk Yildirim, the face that turns heads from Istanbul to Rome to Madrid, was seen where nobody expected him, in a sleek black car idling at the curb, windows tinted, right outside the building where his former long-term partner, Cemre Arda, lives. 2:37 a.m. A time for dreams or silence, unless you've decided the night owes you an answer. The car sat like a secret. And then the door opened. Reporters who were there on an unrelated errand froze, their fatigue evaporating. "It's him," one whispered, voice cracking from the shock of recognition. Gökberk wasn't dressed for a premiere and wasn't the polished star who glides along red carpets. He'd chosen the uniform of invisibility, cap pulled low, a dark hoodie zipped against the chill, a small backpack slung over one shoulder as if he'd packed nothing but conviction and a few essentials. He moved slowly toward the entrance, each step heavy with the kind of resolve that looks a lot like guilt or longing. He stopped by the doorway, pulled out his phone, and stared down at the blue light washing over his face. Minutes ticked, the kind that stretch and warp until they feel like hours, and then he dialed. Witnesses say he went very still, a statue cast from patience and hope, and remained that way for what felt like forever, at least 15 minutes by the most conservative count. What followed is the spark lighting up every thread in the city. Residents inside, roused by the hush that follows a heartbeat, claim they saw a silhouette at a third-floor window. That floor. That apartment. Cemre's private world. He made a call. It was short. He kept staring up, a neighbor murmured later, as if admitting to watching a love scene play out on a screen. Like he needed a signal. A curtain rustle. A light changing its mind. You might roll your eyes, but even cynics smile when a real-life moment echoes the movies. To understand why this hit so hard, we need to rewind. According to sources inches from the flame, Gökberk's return to Turkey wasn't on his calendar. He was in Madrid, tackling a demanding international project, the kind that swallows your schedule whole. And then, just like that, he was gone, flight booked at the last second, a scramble of team calls, a rush through the airport. He left a set behind. He left comfort and routine. He left everything to stand in the chill beneath a familiar window. That alone ignited theories in every corner of social media. Had they argued? Had something broken that words couldn't fix from afar? Or was it an audacious attempt to mend, to ask forgiveness without the safety of distance? A confidant close to Cemre agreed to speak, but only off the record. She didn't see this coming, they said, voice low, choosing each word like it might shatter. When he called from downstairs, shock is the only word. They've been speaking, yes, keeping a thin line between them. But not like this. Not face to face. Not for a long time. Put yourself where she stood. It's 2:37 a.m., your phone vibrates, and the person who shaped your yesterdays has just crossed a country to stand beneath your window. Do you go down, or do you turn off the light and let the night decide? Tell us your truth in the comments. We want to feel your heartbeat on this one. The moment that fractured hopes like glass came next. Nearly an hour slipped past, the cold finding its way into bones and resolve. Then, a final flick of darkness swept across the third-floor windows. No blow. No signal. A message sent with nothing but shadow. Gökberk drew in one long breath, face tight and unreadable, and returned to the car. The engine caught, tires whispered against wet pavement, and the vehicle slid into Nisantasia's sleeping avenues without a single word for anyone. Paparazzi tried to tail him, but within a handful of blocks the black silhouette dissolved into the city, as if it had never been there at all. Dawn arrived and, with it, the digital crossfire. On his Instagram, a black screen and a single line from Gökberk: "Sometimes the heart makes the decision your mind wouldn't dare to." Confession, excuse, or both? Meanwhile, Cemre posted her quiet morning: coffee, a book left open, a plate that looked like sunlight. Her caption was like a closed door, but not unkind: "Silence has power of its own." 2 sentences, oceans of speculation. Fans collided in comments, some convinced it was a declaration, others resigned to the idea of a bridge already burned. It's easy to forget, and impossible at the same time, how their story captured everyone. Their chemistry didn't so much cross the screen as seep out of it, filling living rooms, phones, and the small spaces between strangers on the metro. The separation happened without fireworks, but absence can be louder than fireworks when you refuse to shout. The echo stayed. If this night has you breathing a little faster, drop that like. Your support lets us keep tracing the threads others miss. And if you want to become part of our inner circle, the gates are open. At Whispers of Turkish Stars, the hunt never sleeps. But this was not the end. If anything, it was a prologue rewritten. Within 24 hours, speculation evolved into something bigger, whispers bound together by new details. A receptionist at a boutique hotel in Ortaköy swears a woman arrived that same morning, a few hours after Gökberk drove off. Hat low, sunglasses on despite the gray light, walking like someone keeping a promise with each step. "You can't hide that kind of presence," the employee said later. "It's not about fame. It's how some people carry the room with them, even in the hallway." No pictures. No proof. Just enough to pour oil into an already bright flame. Istanbul celebs reached out to Gökberk's press team. The response was the most eloquent kind of refusal: no comment. Cemre was spotted leaving a meeting in Levent, posture straight, pace brisk. Cameras flew at her and she managed only a brief answer, a small smile that didn't shift her eyes. Things aren't always what the outside imagines. And sometimes quiet is the only honest reply. Social media did what social media does best. A tag began climbing, #Gökberk Cemre reunion. Not a conclusion, more like a wish spelled out in code. A detail the internet dug up from 3 weeks back is now taking center stage, a Spotify playlist shared by Gökberk titled "It Wasn't a Coincidence." The songs pulse with the old ache of return and the fragile lift of hope. The headline track? Volvaire, from Mabel Mayday's, a name that alone can make your pulse do strange things. Message in a bottle? Private note shot across a digital sea? Fuel arrived in another form. A friend of Gökberk's, also an actor, posted an old photo of the two of them. Younger faces, louder laughter, eyes that hadn't yet seen certain nights. The caption read, "What's real doesn't die, it learns a new shape." Add that to the theory that this isn't a reboot of the past, but an attempt to reclaim the truth beneath it. Morning shows pounced. On Magazine a la Mañana, the host asked everyone's favorite question out loud. What if this was never about a single visit? A guest journalist took a breath and gave the thoughtful answer, the one nobody expects on live television. Cemre's in a reflective place, more tuned to her interior rhythm. Gökberk has grown up in the glare of Europe's attention. These two meeting again could be less about reliving and more about re-listening. Those in the know added one more intriguing thread. Whispers that both currently rely on the same emotional coach, a therapist whose roster is a who's who of Turkish stardom. If true, it suggests something bigger than coincidence, a willingness to understand old wounds without bleeding all over the new chapter. Maybe the bridge isn't being rebuilt from the ends inward, but from the center out. The mystery sits thick over the Bosphorus like morning mist. The sight of Gökberk waiting below Cemre's window has settled into the city's memory, not easily brushed aside. Sources with access to a friend of his shared this line, allegedly from him after the night turned back into ordinary time. "I didn't come to be dramatic," he said. "I came to see the truth with my own eyes. Even if the truth stayed behind the glass." It wasn't a text he needed. It was the sight of her, even if the sight was a darkness that refused to blink. There is no official confirmation of anything, and still, hearts beat a little faster. Because sometimes what refuses to be named keeps living anyway. The avenues of Istanbul will keep catching their steps, whether together or apart, and we will keep watching, not to invade, but to understand the music under the noise. At Whispers of Turkish Stars, we're on the lookout for the next sign. Did that hotel rendezvous truly happen? Is this the start of a new grammar for Gökberk and Cemre, a language shaped by what they've learned and what they refuse to unlearn? Tell us how you read the silence. Remember to subscribe, ring that bell, and share this with anyone who still believes that timing can try again. And if you're still wondering how a night reorders a life, think back to the exactness of 2:37 a.m. A car, a window, a call that didn't last long enough, a city doing what cities do. Holding secrets while pretending not to. Maybe the only thing louder than the engine that left was the heartbeat it failed to quiet. Maybe the only clear sentence written that night was this: sometimes the distance between two people isn't measured in miles, but in whether or not a light turns on. We'll be here when the next light does. Until then, keep your ear to the pavement and your eyes on the sky. The story isn't finished. It might just be learning, like all of us, how to begin again.